The silent collapse. Dubai. Toxic luxury mystery at 9:12 in the morning. More than 100 construction laborers were on the clock at the hyper-premium intersection of Marina Boulevard and Al Marsa Street in the heart of Dubai Marina. The site was a towering 18-story structure, sitting just steps from the edge of the world's largest man-made marina, the most visited luxury waterfront on Earth. The megastructure rising above them was slated to be the elite Hard Rock Hotel Dubai Marina, a brand practically every person on the planet recognizes. The guitar logo, the rock memorabilia, the global merchandise. You know the name then. The top 3 floors began to move, not slowly, not with a groan or a warning crack. The upper section of the North Tower simply let go. Concrete slabs poured weeks prior dropped onto the floors below, creating a catastrophic cascade. The whole sequence happened in seconds. Twisted steel beams spilled into the pristine marina walkways. 2 massive construction cranes lurched sideways at impossible angles, hanging suspended above the wreckage. Workers fled. Some jumped from scaffolding into the sand. Emergency vehicles rushed to the scene. The luxury tower that had been rising for months had completely pancaked. 3 men did not get out: Jose Ponce Arasola, 63, Anthony Magret, 49, and Quinyon Wimberly, 36. If you want to understand how a luxury tower kills 3 people in broad daylight in the middle of Dubai's billionaire playground, and how nobody went to prison for it, stay with this video. What happened here is not just an engineering disaster. It is a story of what happens when a global brand licenses its name, collects massive fees, and then worries about reputational damage, while workers remain buried in the rubble. It is a story of falsified safety logs, heat expansion structural failures, and a system designed to absorb catastrophe without producing accountability. If this is what you come here for, subscribe now. We cover the buildings that collapse long after the cameras leave. The timeline. Unregulated, send, and fraudulent logs to understand how a mega hotel in Dubai Marina came to fall. You have to look at the timeline of decisions that turned a premium plot into a death trap. The site along Al Marsa Street had been highly contested. For decades, it sat as standard reclaimed coastal land. As Dubai's real estate market exploded, prominent developer Mohan Kailas targeted the plot for a massive luxury skyscraper. Operating through a complex web of shell companies, Kailas had a history that should have raised immediate red flags. In 2014, municipal authorities issued demand letters to his group for over $300,000 in unpaid regulatory, permitting, and safety fees. His son and development partner had previously faced severe legal sanctions for financial fraud involving public infrastructure funds. Yet, the local political establishment continued to back his plays. Zoning laws for this specific sector of the marina capped building heights to protect the fragile, shifting sand foundation and prevent coastal erosion. Kailas wanted 200 feet of vertical luxury. After intense lobbying and promises of monumental economic development, special height waivers were granted. Construction began, but the project lagged for years. It wasn't until February 2018 that Kailas announced a mega licensing partnership with Hard Rock International to brand the development as a premier 18-story lifestyle hotel with 350 rooms, 65 ultra-luxury residential units, and a massive rooftop pool deck. Hard Rock lent its iconic name, collected millions in upfront licensing fees, and assumed zero liability. They didn't hire the engineers, check the structural blueprints, or monitor the construction site. That hands-off arrangement shattered at 9:12 a.m. on that catastrophic Saturday. Forensic engineering reports later revealed a lethal mix of design changes and environmental physics. Kailas had demanded higher ceiling heights for the top 2 floors. To accommodate this without altering the overall height, the engineering firm, Heaslip Engineering, used drastically thinner steel beams under the 17th and 18th floors. Worse, extreme summer heat up to 50 degrees Celsius caused severe thermal expansion in the uninsulated steel, placing immense stress on the structural joints. The columns on the upper floors were misaligned, failing to transfer weight directly to the foundational piles below. Investigators discovered that 81 major load-bearing beams supporting the top 3 floors were grossly undersized. The structural joints were operating at 300% overstress. The building was literally tearing itself apart from the heat and weight before the collapse even triggered. The Pantom inspectors shadow oversight. The engineering failures inside the Dubai Marina Tower were catastrophic, but the official oversight system failed first. The municipal safety framework is designed to be rigorous. Licensed inspectors are legally required to physically visit construction sites at critical milestones, verify that the work aligns with approved structural blueprints, and sign off on safety logs before concrete pours can proceed. For the Hard Rock Marina project, that entire safety net was a fiction. Following the disaster, independent investigators audited the GPS tracking data of the municipal inspector vehicle fleet. The records exposed systematic fraud. On July 18th, Municipal Inspector Julie Twitty signed an official field report approving critical load-bearing work on the upper levels. Her vehicle's GPS logs proved she never set foot in the Dubai Marina that day. Her car remained parked at her suburban residence for hours during the exact window she claimed to be on site. On July 26th, a second inspector, Eric Treadaway, signed off on a massive concrete pour for the 14th floor. His GPS records placed his vehicle miles away on the opposite side of the city. On October 1st, just 11 days before the collapse, Twitty filed another fraudulent report authorizing the pouring of heavy concrete slabs on the rooftop deck. She conducted the inspection from her living room. The internal municipal audit revealed that 11 out of 32 inspectors within the Regional Safety and Permits branch were actively falsifying data. This was not a single rogue employee. It was an institutional culture of ghost inspections that left thousands of laborers working under compromised, unverified concrete slabs, while the corrupt inspectors merely faced forced resignations and administrative suspensions. The legal system reacted entirely differently to the frontline workers who actually tried to expose the danger. Weeks before the collapse, an expat laborer filmed warped structural steel supports on his phone, warning in his native language that the joints were buckling under the heat. Instead of triggering an immediate shutdown, the warning was ignored. After the collapse, injured expat workers who spoke out to independent journalists about the unsafe speed of construction were quickly detained for visa irregularities and swiftly deported, effectively silencing the key witnesses to the crime. The aftermath. Buried in the playground of billionaires, the immediate aftermath of the Dubai Marina collapse was a logistical and humanitarian nightmare. The intersection of Marina Boulevard and Al Marsa Street was completely paralyzed. Two massive tower cranes, their bases shattered by the kinetic force of the pancaked floors, leaned precariously over the ultra-luxury waterfront. Fearing a secondary collapse that could crush neighboring residential towers, authorities executed a controlled demolition using explosive charges 8 days later. One crane fell onto the wreckage as intended. The second crashed directly into Al Marsa Street, rupturing a major municipal sewer line and flooding the area with wastewater. The economic fallout was devastating. One of the wealthiest commercial corridors on Earth sat blocked for 18 months, choking out foot traffic to high-end boutiques, restaurants, and luxury offices. The city spent an estimated $12 million in emergency response, public safety personnel, and specialized engineering consultants just to stabilize the perimeter. But the true horror of this disaster was hidden inside the rubble. The bodies of two expat laborers, Quinion Wimberly and Jose Ponce Areola, remained trapped inside the twisted steel and unstable concrete for nearly 10 months. Because the remaining 18-story structure was completely unstable, no engineer would clear recovery teams to enter. Recovery crews had to deploy remote-controlled robots to chip away at the debris, while operators hung from platforms suspended by external cranes. 10 months of agonizing wait for families overseas, watching the billionaire playground of Dubai continue its high-end operations just blocks away from an active, open grave, while the bodies were still entombed in the concrete. The corporate response from Hard Rock International shifted entirely to damage control. The brand issued a swift statement reminding the public that they did not design, engineer, or build the tower. They had merely leased their corporate identity. 4 months into the crisis, Hard Rock's chief operating officer sent an urgent letter to local leadership. The letter did not focus on the recovery of the dead. Instead, it expressed deep concern over the reputational damage to the global Hard Rock brand. The executive highlighted that the company had funded $5 million toward the crane demolition and demanded swift legal action against local activists organizing corporate boycotts, claiming the slow cleanup was tarnishing their trademark. Over 130 lawsuits were filed by injured workers, grieving families, and ruined local business owners against the developer, Mohan Kailas, the general contractor, and Heaslip Engineering. In response, Hard Rock filed its own massive indemnity lawsuit, aggressively distancing itself from the local partners it had eagerly signed contracts with just 2 years prior, ensuring the brand walked away financially insulated from the human toll. The impunity system. Nobody goes to prison in October 2023, 4 years after the collapse, and at the absolute limit of the statute of limitations for gross negligence. A grand jury met to determine criminal accountability for the 3 deaths. After brief deliberations, they declined to indict anyone. The prosecution cited a systemic lack of absolute certainty, compounded by the fact that federal safety agencies withheld critical administrative engineering reports from the criminal investigators. By early 2024. The families of the deceased workers accepted confidential civil settlements. In September 2025, a massive tentative settlement covering 400 injured bystanders and ruined local business owners was quietly finalized. The terms remain sealed, the dollar amounts secret, and no admission of fault was ever made. Today, the engineering firm whose plans were labeled willfully negligent by safety investigators, with joints 300% overstressed, is still actively contesting its administrative fines. The engineer who stamped those fatal blueprints still holds his professional license. The developer, Mohan Kailas, was never criminally charged, never fined by federal oversight bodies, and continues to spearhead massive real estate developments across the region. In July 2025, the empty plot at the corner of Marina Boulevard and Al Marsa Street was designated a protected municipal zone, with official statements suggesting a permanent memorial for the workers might someday be built there. For now, it is an empty sandbox surrounded by perimeter barriers. A different luxury hotel project has already opened on the adjacent lot. The surrounding high-end restaurants are packed, and the city has completely moved on. That is the true mechanism of this disaster, not the structural collapse that took seconds, but the systemic insulation that lasted years. The phantom inspectors, the bulletproof branding contracts, the sealed settlements,